Barnard. I'm the chairman of the Wolfeboro Planning Board. Welcome to the August 4th, 2020 meeting of the Planning Board. Due to the COVID-19 crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. However, the Planning Board has jointly decided to proceed with a hybrid meeting format, allowing for members of the public and board to attend and participate in the meeting in person or virtually. In accordance with RSA 91A:2-3, the board has 6 members. One member joining the meeting remotely, while the other 6 are present in the Great Hall. At this time, I'd like to take a roll call of all the members present, and I will do that. Susan Replier? Here. Okay, Brad Harriman?
Here.
John Thurston?
Here.
Mike Hodder?
Here.
Von Dugan? Here. Julie Jacobs, an alternate. Here. Thank you, and I'm here, Kathy Barnard. Okay, votes taken.
Please don't forget about Peter. Don't forget about Peter.
Oh gosh, Peter, I am very sorry. I had you at the top of the list. Peter Goodwin.
I am here, and I am concerned about the aerosol transmission of COVID-19.
Okay, and I apologize. And this time I'm looking at you. Last time you were behind me, so. Okay. Votes taken during this meeting will be by a roll call vote for all members. In accordance with Emergency Order 12 for members of the public, this is to confirm that we are number 1, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means through GoToMeeting. All members of the public and board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the GoToMeeting platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-749-3122, followed by the audio access code 918-242-429, or by video following the directions on the Town of Wolfeboro website posted on the home page under the virtual town meeting login information page. 2, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting in person or using GoToMeeting, and instructions are provided on the Town of Wolfeboro website at wolfeboronh.us on the virtual town meeting login information page. 3, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or computer, please immediately call 603-391-8489 or email planningdirector@wolfeboronh.us. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Okay, I've introduced the planning board members, and so we can go on to the public hearings. The first one, Julie and Tom Fergus, 49 Center Street, tax map and lot 204-47, case 2020-19. This is a first floor accessory dwelling unit, lower level, and this is for a conditional use permit.
And I need to recuse myself.
I'm the manager of the LLC that is next door.
Okay. So Von Dugan will not be participating in this. Julie, could you sit in Von's?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, we need to hear from the applicant first. This is the first accessory dwelling unit conditional permit that we've reviewed, so if you'll just go through your presentation.
Thank you. I'm here, Tony Fallon and Erin Fallon, my wife. We have a purchase and sale agreement for 49 Center Street. And we are proposing and anticipating living on the first and second floor that you see. Let's see if this, that's not going to work. I'll try this one.
Tony, the pointer does not work well on that, so why don't you just sort of walk through the pictures up there?
Okay, so I'll just script it. The microphone closer. Okay. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Jim.
So in the okay, so Matt's helped me out with just focusing in the picture that. The top left picture, which now is mostly in the screen, you see the first and second floor. That would be our primary residence. First floor kitchen, dining, living, and then an accessory home occupation for me, an architect. Would be, as I've always done, just practice architecture out of the house. It'll be 300 square feet or less, so it complies with 1,000 square foot maximum. And then upstairs would be a couple of bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and then one of the bedrooms, the 4th bedroom is going to be used as a sewing room. The accessory dwelling unit, per the ordinance, is not really visible from Center Street at all. A lot of the bit about the accessory dwelling unit is from the street. It's not really apparent. This other picture that Matt's brought up for us, the accessory dwelling unit is the lower floor or basement floor, so that's a little bit misleading in how the notice was written up. So the accessory dwelling unit's on the lower or basement floor, not the first floor. And the screen porch, you can see there's a 2-story screen porch. The lower one is the main entrance through the accessory dwelling unit. So again, that complies with, it's not really visible for the road, so from the Center Street, it really appears to be a single-family dwelling with the accessory dwelling unit in the basement. And then I'm sorry, Matt, go back to that if you could, please. So then the top 2 floors, the first floor and the second floor that you can see, the upper part of the screen porch is actually the first floor of the building. That's part of the primary residence where Aaron and I and visiting grandkids and adult children would be. And then if you could, Matt, over to the right, thank you. So this is, what's interesting about this is when Julie and Tom bought this in 1999, it was a 3-family home. So there was actually 3 apartments in this at that time. They ran it a couple of different things, 15 years. She ran it as architectural attic. It was an antique store as well as a interior design business. I'm an architect. I teamed up with her on a couple of, designed some nice homes. We wound up in Yankee Magazine and Inc. Magazine. So now we're trying to reclaim it back towards, the more residential use that it had been, back then. Currently, it's been used actually as a single-family dwelling in the most recent times. So this is a floor plan of the accessory dwelling unit. It's the basement level, not visible from the street, not visible from Center Street. It's living, kitchen, dining, and bedroom. The rear part is a utility, but they do have an existing porch, which will be the main entrance. And then if we could go to the next page, please, Matt. So the little grid at the top shows the compliance. A little bit is cut off, but the lower, there we go. So there's a small spreadsheet that I put together just showing the compliance with the 750 square foot maximum for the accessory dwelling unit, or 30% of the finished space. So the top line shows the accessory dwelling unit square footage of 747, so we comply with the simple 750 square foot maximum. But then if we also look at it the other way, the first floor and second floor finished square footage totals 2616, and anyways, it works out to 29%, so we're just under the 30% max as well. And just for reference, we'll show you the 2 floor plans for the primary residence. Most of this is existing to remain. Starting with the left one, which is the first floor, there's an existing home office to the right side of the stair hall. That's where I'll be practicing architecture in the front room and the back room, and then living room to the left of the stair hall, kitchen, kind of as an extended kitchen. It's an older house, but it works out. It's actually pretty nice. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms with kind of a little ante-bedroom, so that'll be for guests, and one of the bedrooms will be the sewing room, as you can see. And then on the kind of the right side of the page, if we could, Matt, please. Just as part of this, as long as I was coming before you, I also did apply to replace the existing sign that just says 49 Center with just, again, put the 49 so somebody knows what the address is, but then just a little ditty for the Tony Fallon architecture. It's my standard thing. So, and that's so it would be pretty much keeping either the existing turned column posts or maybe replacing them in kind, and then just replacing the sign between. The new sign would be 30 inches by 52 1/4 for 11 square feet. Then if we can go to the last page, please. The site is pretty unusual for being right in the center of town. It's about an acre of land. And when the architectural attic started up back in around 2000, they worked with Land Tech and basically did this site plan, which I pretty much just traced, showing 9 parking spaces kind of along the northerly border, and then 1 parking space kind of up more towards the house. What's a little unusual, if you're not familiar with it, is there's kind of a bright blue box down towards the pizza shop. That's a garage that's 2 cars deep. So all the parking is existing to remain. We may play a little bit with a side patio and where the dog fence goes, but and I guess it might be worth, Matt, if you don't mind bringing the hand over to where the back to the site plan, just show them where the sign currently is that we're going to replace. It's noted up kind of on the left side of the parking lot there. There you go. Thank you. And lastly, there's a picture at the top right there, just for reference, showing a kind of a side yard that we have that will be part of our primary residence. That's the one where we'll probably put down some pavers or maybe move the fencing around a little bit. So, if I may, I'm just going to get my cheat sheet that I unfortunately left back here. I'll be right back with you.
Okay. Okay, and let me just add that this is in the Wolfeboro Falls Limited Business District, and these ADUs are allowed in all zoning districts in town. I was just adding what district it was in.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
The chair was just noting that ADUs are a permitted use in this zoning district, just for the record.
Okay.
Okay?
So I was just going to kind of click through just to double cover, make sure I hit everything as I follow the application. So this is an 1860 brick straight front colonial. In 1999, it was a 3-family. For 15 years, I had a loose affiliation with this building. I consulted with Julie Fergus on a couple of houses, so it's kind of got kind of a neat family history with us. I've known the building for 20 years. The ADU isn't integral to the structure. It's certainly not separate. It's in the basement, so we do comply with that regulation. We do have the street appearance of a single-family dwelling from Center Street. The accessible dwelling unit access is not visible from Center Street. You really have to go down a set of steps from the parking lot or up a set of steps from Wolfgang's Pizza. We do have a right-of-way across Wolfgang's Pizza. The percentage complies. There's plenty of parking with 11 parking spaces. So certainly we can designate one for the accessory dwelling unit. And then the first and second floors will be primary residence with an accessory home occupation. So happy to take questions.
Okay. Questions? Okay, go ahead, Julie.
My first question is, in the accessory unit, in the bedroom, is there, in the entire small apartment area there, is there a second doorway? Or is there only one entrance to the accessory unit?
There's just one, yes, there's just one door into it. You go into the screen porch and then into the door into the unit.
Okay, so there's egress windows someplace else, is what I'm getting at? For a fire escape, there's an egress window somewhere else?
I apologize, I'm trying to understand.
Right.
It's okay, it's just pretty, you can't hear it. So is there an egress window somewhere else, so if we're in the bedroom and there's a fire, we can get out?
Well, the egress windows, if we could go to the first page, Matt, please.
This is the first page.
Okay, so then the bottom left picture, those two windows in the brick on the lower level, those meet the egress requirements for an existing.
Okay.
I got a couple technical questions here.
Oh, sure.
Maybe Matt can. Okay, Matt, so when we look at the town of planning board paper, it says name of property owner, and it says Julie Fergus. He just stated that he's gonna have a purchase and sales, okay? This is maybe all technical, but I'm gonna run through it. Down at the bottom, it says name of agent, Tony Fallon, okay? If different from property owner, okay? On the affidavit accessory dwelling unit questions, who's affidaviting the questions? Is it the owner, the Fergus, or is it the potential owner, Fallon?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Fallon probably has to answer that. He filled this out, didn't he?
I can answer it. I mean, the applicant has signed the affidavit, if you will, certifying that they will comply with the standards based on what's proposed. So the applicant is certifying that.
But the paperwork says that he's not the owner.
Correct, but the owner has authorized him to represent them in full on the application. At least that was my understanding of what was submitted. So I think that gives them the authority to submit the application as presented.
Yes, and it does say, will the property owner reside, so that's...
Yeah,
And John, just very quickly, I think, John, what you're talking about is where that signature is missing on the bottom of the second page. In the section it says, if the application is approved, we will comply. My assumption was that the current owner did not want to sign that because they could not certify what would be done with the property at a future time. That was my reading of the application, but I agree it's a little unclear when you don't have the owner's signature there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. The comb here is here. Who's who here?
As of the 21st of August, God willing, I will be.
But yeah, I think it's a fair question.
So should we make a notation or something here, or
We have an email from the owner to Terry, July 13, asking if the email could serve as signature, appointing Tony Fallon as agent. Does that cover your concerns, John?
I just want to make sure, that's all.
Yeah, it's a good question. We've had issues with authorization in the past, but I felt comfortable with this. I think the challenge is that ADU certification looks forward, which makes it very challenging to an owner that's currently in the process of selling to sign it. But it is a bit odd that we have an application that looks like it doesn't have an owner's signature, and you'd really have to dig into the paperwork to find out that they have consented to the submission of the application. But I think this does meet the standards to the point, John. But it's a good question.
Okay, so one question for Tony. When you mentioned the pathway down by Wolfgang's, that was one of your last comments. Is that how they're going to access?
If we could go to the site plan. There are two set of steps shown. I think they could, if they're walking, they could come up by Wolfgang's. It's,
But they would have to go through his property, though, wouldn't they?
we have an easement.
Okay.
But if you look, I mean, I didn't do the due diligence to that depth, but it looks like an owner of 49 Center at one point deeded some land to Wolfgang for him to get his parking lot in, and in exchange for that, we kept right away across the parking lot.
Okay.
That's a guess. I can't attest to that. But there's a set of steps existing that come up from Wolfgang's parking lot. So I've walked down them, I've walked up them, they work. But, you know, if somebody's driving, they'll probably walk down a set of steps. And they're both shown from, I wish I could point to it, but they're, you know, so there's the steps up from Wolfgang's, and then that's the one up from Wolfgang's, and that's the one that goes down from the parking lot. So, you know, it's pretty...
So what would you do in the wintertime here?
Shovel snow?
John, is your question how someone driving or walking would walk
Well,
into
I was looking at the picture, and I don't see any access really in that picture, and that's where he said is getting to the place. So I'm just trying to understand where the access
Let's
was.
see. Do we have an old-fashioned pointer? Can I go up on the stage and just...
John, it's on page 3.
Oh, you got one of ours? Okay. What's that? Okay, can you bring the page to the please? Okay, so...
Tony, just go back to the mic, please.
If you could look up at the screen, please. So, for cars, this is the main driveway in. And then you can park 9 cars here, 1 car here. You know, one of these many spots would be for the tenant. So they would typically, you know, in a driving situation, park here, walk along this brick patio that would be shared with us, and then walk down these steps, which is bringing you down pretty much a full story along this path and then in, like that. If it's summertime and they're just, you know, walking to town and they want to come back in, they would very well may come across here and up here because it's more efficient. You're not going uphill to go downhill
All right,
to go in.
I got it, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Madam Chairman?
Okay, yeah, what's that? Okay, go ahead, Mike.
A couple of questions, Mr. Fallon. First, which of the parking spaces is to be dedicated for the ADU?
It would, any one of the, not the closest one to us, but probably either the one that's all by itself or one of the other ones in the middle of the upper part.
Well, it doesn't really matter whether it's one or the other. The ordinance says it has to be dedicated. So I would like to see on your plan which of those parking spaces belongs to the ADU? Ma'am, if you're going to speak, you need to come up and identify yourself. Excuse me, Madam Chair.
That's fine. Okay, we'll dedicate the one just to the left of number 9.
Could you point to it so that we can identify it, so that we can make a notation in the minutes?
Yes, thank you.
That's the one, thank you. I have one other question, Madam Chairman, if I may. The ordinance further calls for an interior door in a common wall. Could you show us on the plan on page 1 where that interior door in the common wall is?
I was not aware of that requirement. If that's the case, what we would do is if we could go to the middle, let's see. Yeah, the middle sheet, the first floor plan, there's an existing door at the top of the basement stairs. We could have that be a door in a common wall. It's right there. It's an existing door currently.
I'm not sure that I follow how the proposed plan is not compliant. The proposed plan is compliant with that standard, is it not? There is a door that touches an interior wall of both units. Is that not correct?
Well, the interior right now, there's a door here, so somebody could, from the basement unit, could come up these stairs and through this door and be in this other unit. So I could maintain that. In what I was looking through in the requirements, I didn't see that there had to be access between the units, but I can keep that maintained.
The ADU shall be connected to the main dwelling unit by an interior door in a common wall, quote unquote.
Right, and my understanding of that portion of the ordinance was when we had an ADU that was an independent wing of a structure, and there was concern that a breezeway would connect the two dwelling units, the primary and the accessory dwelling unit, and therefore we called for it to be an interior wall. In this case, where there was where the unit is clearly interior to the building, and there's a stairway that connects the two units, I felt that complied with the standard, and if it doesn't, that's okay, but I felt that was meeting the standard set forward in the ordinance. And if the board disagrees, that's fine. I think Mr. Fallon has recommended an alternative, but I felt that it was compliant.
I kind of had the same question, and I was coming into this thinking that you had it all figured out already, Matt, to tell you the truth. So I was kind of key when Mike brought it up, and I'm a little unsure about it myself. I know we've wrestled with this for quite a while.
If the ordinance language is XYZ, and the people in the town have voted to approve XYZ, it's XYZ. I understand your point, Matt, and it makes logical sense, but I'm just uncomfortable with the fact that the proposal doesn't seem to meet the requirement of the language of the ordinance.
But are not these two units connected via an interior door?
Well, if you can show that to me, then I'll withdraw my objection.
Well, yeah, they currently are.
We're not
this
in the
is a
public.
common wall. This wall at the top of these stairs is common between the two units. It's the basement stair is part of the basement unit. So the common wall actually occurs right here. The basement's part of the basement unit. And then on the other side of this wall is the primary residence. So this is a common wall, and there is a door in it. So, I mean,
Okay.
that does meet. I apologize, I looked through a lot of things, I didn't see that requirement. If we can just leave what's already there.
Oh, okay, Vaughn, are you going to be speaking on behalf of the applicant? What?
I'd be happy to speak as a helpful abutter
Well,
next door.
Oh,
Not as
okay,
a
but
member
we're
of the
not to
board.
the public.
I'm not a member of the board right now. Can I not do this as an abutter?
The public hearing hasn't been open technically.
Oh,
Sorry, Vaughn.
All right, sorry.
Then I'll leave my objection to one side.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. We can bring this up again later on if it remains an issue.
okay, no. Susan, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, Matt?
Julie does.
Well, I'm trying to move things along here. Yeah, yes,
It's not so much a question, but since I'm in the Falls District and almost every business seems to have an apartment with it, this almost seems like it's the same kind of a building that has an apartment and a business. I'm wondering if maybe it's just labeled incorrectly instead of an accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Matt, do you have additional comments?
I would just say that it absolutely is an accessory dwelling unit in the context of the ordinance. There's no question about that. I agree, Julie, that those accessory apartments exist throughout the Wolfeboro Falls Limited Business District. The difference with this is that this is not only an accessory unit, but also a home occupation and a single-family, primary detached single-family dwelling unit. So it's sort of a combination of all three. I do want to hear the board's feedback on this interior wall issue because I certainly agree. I use an interpretation, so I'd be open to whatever the board is willing to do. But I wanted to just note quickly the 5 recommended conditions. I'll do them now before the public hearing just so you have them on the record. The first condition is that any signage presented as part of this presentation, as part of the application, is subject to a Town of Wolfeboro sign permit. So by taking action this evening, you are not approving the signage that is proposed, although it's included within the plan set. Condition 2, the unit may not be conveyed separately without planning board approval. This is inherent already within the regulation, but I just wanted to make it clear as part of the accessory dwelling unit approval. Any modification to the proposed building plans may require further planning board review. I use the term may here intentionally. If there's a small modification, a stove moves, obviously that may not need to come back to you. If there's a substantial modification that meets it so that it does not qualify for the conditional use permit, it may need to return. Condition 4 is that obviously the approval is subject to all Town of Wolfeboro permits. That includes any code review, Julie, to your question earlier about egress windows. This will require some building permits, I believe, potentially down the road, and that will be reviewed as part of that process. And then the parking space, as identified this evening during the board's conversation, should be formally dedicated within the final plan set to this unit. Recognizing fully that other spaces may be used, but in the event that there is an issue, that space is dedicated to this unit's use. Other than that, Madam Chair, I have no additional comments.
Okay, well, it seems that the application is complete. Would somebody be willing to make a motion to accept this application?
So
as
moved.
complete?
Seconded.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Roll call.
I do have one other
Okay.
comment at some point.
Yep, all right. Peter Goodwin? Yes. Okay, Brad Harriman?
Yes.
Susan Replier?
Yes.
John Thurston?
Yes.
Mike Hodder?
Yes.
And Julie Jacobs?
Yes.
And Kathy Barnard, I vote yes to accept the application is complete. And so I'll open the public hearing. Why don't we see if there's a member of the public that wants to comment on this, okay, Mr.
Sure.
Fallon?
Could I just add one other detail, if I may?
Okay,
I have looped in with Deputy Chief Zadi about this proposal a couple of times, so he is aware of this proposal and he has supported it. So,
okay, thank you. Okay, any member of the public, come on up.
I'd like to speak just as a abutter and an architect. Yes, the standard says that it should be attached by a door and a wall. This floor is you know, floor to floor. That's the wall. It is really severely connected. It's not as if it's an appendage to this building. And, you know, I think a waiver, if the board feels that that is required, could be granted because the intent is met. But specifically, the door and the wall or not, it happens to be a floor system. It's even more substantial. So that might be an option.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
We don't have options for waivers in this.
Yeah, under conditional use permitting, you cannot grant waivers just for the board's
Right.
information. So you have to find that it is compliant with all conditions necessary within the CUP process in order to grant the permit, unfortunately.
Okay, any other member of the public want to address this issue?
Jim Rhines from White Mountain Survey and Engineering. I was just curious if perhaps if the board was inclined to do this because of a technicality, if they were to grant a conditional approval conditioned on relief from the zoning board as an option to save the applicant from having to come back.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't think we can approve an application conditional upon approval of another board. That doesn't seem proper to me. But that's just my opinion.
It's a could and should question. You certainly could. Should you? Perhaps not. I would maintain that the door that's proposed is in a wall that is shared between two dwelling spaces. I recognize I may not understand the intricacies of the definitions, but when I reviewed this, I felt it was compliant, but I understand that it may not be.
Well, the danger is, in my opinion, the danger is if we begin interpreting the language of our ordinances, then we're basically opening the door to
Right,
a total
agree.
spectrum of
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree. We talked a lot about this when we were developing this, this ordinance.
And I guess I can't get past the fact that the language says specifically, shall be connected, not might be or could be, or if you'd like it to be, it might be, but shall be. And again, the town voted for this. It's not as if it was Michael Hodder saying it. It's the town of Wolfeboro voted for this.
Okay, Jim, go
Thank you,
ahead.
ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to speak to Mike's comment about the zoning board or a conditional approval condition on another, I agree with Matt that it's not ideal, but I think, didn't we just do that on the Albee Wright Museum application last fall? I think the planning board approval came conditioned upon zoning board. I know it can be done, it's just, it isn't ideal, but given the fact that the planner obviously thought this complied, I don't think it's a practice probably you want to take on a routine basis, but it has been done before. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your memory,
thank you,
Jim.
Well, if a door is constructed, an interior door in a common hall, I mean, if we require that, then it has to be done as a condition of this.
Yeah,
I mean, can't we add a specific condition like that?
You could. I think that would be a solution. I don't know if Mr. Fallon is able to provide that solution potentially this evening,
Yeah.
but my personal preference would be to go with that route rather than sending the applicant to the ZBA potentially.
Sure.
Yeah, yes, right. I mean, this is a conditional permit. So, yeah, I'm not going to, don't worry, you're going to be able to speak. But is that something that would work for you?
very, very easily, yeah. No, quite easily. In fact, it's extant. It exists. There's a door and a common wall that I did point out before. I was planning to take it away without knowing this. I'm happy to make it a condition to leave the door that exists in the existing common wall.
And which door is that?
That's an
Yeah,
easy condition for me to accept because I don't even have to do anything.
And that's the door to the basement?
Yeah, the door at the top of the basement stairs.
There you are.
It's a common wall, it's a common door. It meets the ordinance. I
If
don't
you
have
get-
to take it out.
That's
Less
fine.
work for me.
Remove it, then we're fine.
Is that, are you folks comfortable with that?
Since
Well, the good news is that this is a massive miscommunication because I believe that that door was being installed anyway. That's my error, and that's why I've been arguing that that is a common door and a common wall. So if that's what can be done, then that's what I believe the plan proposed.
Right, yeah, so if I may, my friend here is showing where the existing door and the existing common wall are. I'm very happy to leave them there.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that will be fine.
yeah, okay.
So I'm happy to meet that condition because I don't have to do anything.
Okay. Is everything else addressed?
I think so.
Okay, everyone is comfortable. Okay, public has spoken, and Matt has already indicated some conditions. So the two issues I think that we want to make clear in any approval is that the common, the door be the common hall as described here by Mr. Fallon.
So how much common wall is there?
That's the whole floor, isn't it?
Right.
It's a doorway, basically, is what we're saying, is the common wall, right?
Functionally, the doorway and the surrounding walls of that doorway are shared walls between the upstairs unit and the downstairs.
So is it gonna be a slot? Or is it just gonna be open the door at the top of the stairs? Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't
Or is
think,
it just gonna go straight across?
Okay,
I think all he's got to do is to meet the language of the ordinance, it's a door.
A common wall is a wall that's common between two units.
yes.
It exists, yeah. In this case, I mean, it can take all kinds of different shapes. In this case, it's the wall around the stairs. And the stairs are part of the basement unit, and the first floor hall is part of the primary residence.
Okay.
But it's just the door opening up is what you're trying to tell me, right? Isn't that what you're saying? So you walk up the stairs and it's just door casing and you open the door up and that's what you're calling the common wall?
The common wall is the
The
floor.
wall that holds that door is literally a common wall.
Maybe I'm looking at it wrong because it looks like you go up the stairs and then you have to, if the wall goes across, you don't get to the other part of the room. That's what, maybe I'm not seeing it right there.
Yeah, that's the other page, John. Go to the first page.
Okay, so this is the
Okay,
one.
there we go.
No, it's,
So, Matt, if you could just scroll down a little bit, please. There we go, thank you. All right, so this is a common wall between the accessory dwelling unit and the living room. The wall here, that's the common wall, and then, it's a descending wall here. But this is a common wall between the two units, and then there's an existing door right here. Yeah, there's a header over the door. The header of the door goes up, but this is the common wall that kind of wraps around like that.
All right,
So,
I just want to be consistent in the
Yeah.
future, that's all I want
Yes,
to do.
well, no.
And I think this is one of the more common ADU configurations that you'll see, so it's important that you feel comfortable with this one.
I'm comfortable with it, I just want to be
Yeah.
consistent with everybody else moving forward so that when the next guy comes in, he can use the same method.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Callen. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and would somebody be willing to make a motion, Mr. Harder?
Sure, I'd be happy to make a motion. Mrs. Barnard. I move that the planning board approve case number 2020-19, tax map 204-047 for an accessory dwelling unit at 49 Center Street with the conditions as enumerated by the planner. Take it, Matt.
And I would also add a condition number 6, that the plans be modified to clearly delineate the interior door in the common wall, just so we're very, very clear. I'm going to ask Mr. Fallon to actually point that door and wall out in a revised plan set.
And we also have
The parking condition.
the parking, okay, very
Correct.
good.
So conditions 1 through 6.
Conditions 1 through 6.
And that the Fallons will be the new owners occupying the unit, the main unit.
Do we need to specify that?
Well,
you
just because of the fact
Affidavit.
that the application was seemed to be almost contradictory. And so I just wanted to clarify that. That was the
It's sort of,
issue.
I'll append that to my motion. I'm not convinced it's necessary, but that's just my opinion. It's not going to make any difference to the approval.
Right.
So appended as mentioned by the chairwoman.
Oh, okay, so that's your motion?
Yes, my motion.
Okay. Would somebody be willing to second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to remember to do the roll call vote. Susan Ripley-Hare.
Yes.
Thank you. Brad Harriman.
Yes.
John Thurston.
Yes?
Mike Hodder.
Yes.
Julie Jacobs.
Yes.
Peter Goodwin. Yes. And Kathy Barnard, I vote in favor. Okay, folks, thank you very much. And we will go on to the next item. Ann Romney, 27 Greenleaf and 89 Claflin Lane, tax map and lot 243-22 and 23, case 2020-20. This is a boundary line adjustment for 2 lots. Von Dugan has come back and is joining us, and thank you, Julie. So go ahead, Mr. Ryans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm Jim Rines from White Mountain Survey and Engineering, and I'm here representing Ann Romney in her application for a minor boundary line adjustment. The 2 properties are located at 27 Greenleaf Drive and 87 Claflin Lane. Tax map 243-22 is highlighted in red here, and 243-23 is highlighted in yellow. The existing area of 243-22 is 1.83 acres, and there is a 5,075 square foot 43 in the southeastern corner right near the shore that will be added to 243-22, and of course if it's added to this lot it will be removed from 243-23. So the existing acreage in 243-22 will go from 1.83 acres up to 1.95 acres. 87 Claflin Lane will go from 2.93 acres down to 2.81. There is no change in the water frontage and no change in the water frontage, road frontage as a result of these adjustments. The purpose of the adjustment is that the Romneys want to build an outdoor pavilion, and there is a roadway that passes through this area that they've already started to tear some of that up with construction that's going on here. And there's a gravel, right now, there's a gravel area that's wider than just this pavement. If they needed to, without this adjustment, they'd have to put it in this place, in this area, and there's a bunch of mature trees here. And so by doing this adjustment, they can only remove a few trees in this area rather than a wholesale removal of the trees. The only wrinkle, if there is one in this, is that the section of the ordinance for form factors says that the squared value of the perimeter divided by the square value of the area cannot exceed 36. In the existing condition, tax map 24322 has a form factor of 41.5, and with the adjustment, it will actually improve to 40.3. 24323 has a form factor of 37.4. That will increase slightly to 40.1. They are, so they'll both be closer. They both start out non-conforming. One gets slightly more conforming, the other gets slightly less conforming. I have submitted a waiver from Article Roman 6, Section 175, 2B to this requirement. We believe that the application submitted is in harmony with the adjacent lots in the neighborhood, noting that both lots involved in the application do not presently conform to the form factor, and this will not materially change that. One will improve slightly and one will get slightly less conforming, but we believe that the configuration is consistent with reasonably sound planning practices and ensures environmental integrity by reducing the number of trees that would need to be removed. Both properties are served by municipal sewer and water, and with that request, we hope that the planning board would grant that waiver. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that the board or the public may have.
Okay, and we have previously granted a waiver.
Yes, you did previously
Right.
grant a waiver
Okay.
when there were 4 lots that we reduced to 3.
Right. And you also came to TRC back
Yes,
2 or
I
3
did.
weeks ago.
And I should mention, which I didn't, the reason these lots don't comply to begin with is originally they were developed under the open space preservation option, which no longer exists, and so many of the lots in that development are a little uniquely configured, and their form factors are not what they would be had this ordinance been in place.
Okay, and also this also needs to go on for shoreland.
Yes, yes, we will be submitting a permit by notification because we're disturbing less than 1,500 square feet and in less than 900 square feet of impervious coverage.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, so could you describe, this is a little confusing in the roadway section. Could you describe how emergency vehicles and even homeowners access each of these properties individually?
Yes, Vaughn. So this lot here, which is the lot that the Romneys live at, they come down through here on this driveway to the existing house. This property is accessed from Claflin Lane. So it comes down Claflin Lane. Matt, I don't know if you can pan up at all. So it comes in from Claflin Lane and into this property here. They have 2 different 911 addresses. Lot 12 or 24322 it has an address from Greenleaf, 27 Greenleaf, and the house that's under construction has 87 Claflin Lane. And they've been assigned those 911 numbers.
And they have associated right-of-ways and
Yes.
driveway.
Yep.
Other questions?
Yeah, hi Jim, how you doing? So, are we inside any of the wetland setback that's gonna require drip curtailing around this pavilion?
We're not in any wetland buffers or anything.
Any other questions? Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, we've obviously seen a comparable case back in 2018, reconfiguration of these lots. Nothing to add. Again, this will require a town of Wolfeboro shoreline permit. I can't recall if subject lot 12 required an engineered plan as part of that process, but you will be required to obviously submit and obtain the permit, and Jim and I have already talked about that. But no additional comments, Kathy.
Okay, as Jim mentioned, we previously granted a waiver for the form factor, and it seems that it is improving, and also through his testimony, he is justified the granting of the waiver. So I'd entertain a motion to grant the waiver requested for the form factor based on the testimony just given.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Seconded.
Motion has been made, and somebody second that?
Seconded.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, roll call vote. Susan Ripley.
Yes.
Brad Harriman.
Yes.
John Thurston.
Yes.
Mike Hodder.
Yes.
Von Dugan.
Yes.
Peter Goodwin. And I vote in favor of granting the waiver. So now that the waiver has been granted, the application is considered complete.
So moved.
And I need a motion has been made to accept the application as complete. And would somebody second that?
Seconded.
Okay, motion has been seconded. Another roll call vote. Susan Replier,
Yes.
Brad Harriman,
Yes.
John Thurston,
Yes.
Mike Hodder,
Yes.
Vaughn Dugan,
Yes.
Peter Goodwin, and Kathy Barnard. I vote in favor of accepting this application as complete. So now that that has occurred, I can open the public hearing. So any member of the public that would like to comment on this application, please come on up, and we'll try to address any comments you have. Okay, no member of the public is coming up. So, Matt, do you have some conditions for us to consider?
I do. I have 4 recommended conditions of approval, all of which are relatively standard for a boundary line adjustment or reconfiguration of non-conforming lots. One is the plan set as submitted with the application is incorporated as part of the approval, that being the plan dated July 14th, 2020. Number 2, the applicant shall be responsible for monumentation and submission of a certificate of monumentation to the town and updated plans. 3, the applicant shall submit a Mylar plan for recording at the Carroll County Registry of Deeds and provide payment of all recording fees. And 4, that all the documentation submitted within the application package is incorporated as part of the approval. Conditions 1 through 4.
Okay, thank you. Any added conditions, questions? Okay, would somebody be willing to make a motion to approve the application with the conditions indicated?
I'll make a motion, we approve case number 2020-20, tax map lot 243-022 and 243-023, with conditions stated.
Thank you. Okay, motion, somebody want to second?
Seconded.
And motion has been made and seconded. Okay, roll call vote. In favor of the application, Susan Replier,
Yes.
Brad Harriman,
Yes.
John Thurston,
Yes.
Mike Hodder,
Yes.
Von Dugan,
Yes.
Peter Goodwin, and Kathy Barnard. I vote in favor of the application.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, thank you, and have a safe drive home. Okay, next application. This is the Town of Wolfeboro, 201 Forest Road, Kerry Beach, tax map and lot 228-54, case 2020-21. This is a special use permit site plan review, wetlands and wetlands buffer impact for a parking lot, stormwater management and reconfiguration, and the public hearing is being held under RSA 674:54. Matt, oh, yes, there you are. Okay.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'd just like to recuse myself from this hearing here because the company I work for is going to be bidding this project, so
Oh, okay,
recuse
thank
myself.
you. And so Julie, would you be willing to sit on this?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, basically, this is a town application where we review the plans and make any recommendations if we have any. This project is a very important one in my mind for water quality issues in Winter Harbor. So the Wolfeboro Waters Committee has been talking about this on several different occasions. And so, okay, Matt, why don't you go ahead?
Good evening, board members. Matt Sullivan for the town of Wolfeboro, specifically representing the Public Works and Parks and Recreation Department this evening to give you an overview of the proposed plan for the improvements to Kerry Beach on Forest Road. I just want to note for the record that I did perform the review for the board on this application, but I felt comfortable obviously presenting it to you as well this evening. Please do ask me any questions. If I can't answer your questions directly, if they're more appropriately directed to other departments, I'll get back to you with a formal memo as I've done in the past on projects that are exempt under RSA 674:54. A quick background, obviously this project was approved by the voters in March of 2020 as part of a $450,000 bonded warrant article to make significant improvements to Kerry Beach, primarily focused on the existing parking lot, but also focused on a few peripheral areas that I'll discuss in some detail this evening, and really, again, enhancing water quality in that area. The impetus for that was a study that was done in the Winter Harbor watershed back in, I believe, 2018, and started in 2017 to study different threats and impacts to water quality in that very sensitive watershed. And Kerry Beach was identified as one of the higher priority threats to that area. Taking a step back, generally our process for governmental land use applications is such that the town presents the application to the planning board provides its comments. I subsequently sort of certify those comments and then provide them to the appropriate entity so that they can adjust the design as necessary. In this case, I'll be providing comments directly to the town and Underwood engineers, but if you have a comment or question after this hearing, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. We are still in the process of modifying some components of the design, so please let me know if there are any specific questions or comments.
Your screens have gone blank.
Turns out I am able to see the plan as presented, and you might just want to turn around.
One moment.
Just a second, Peter. We've got some issues.
Technical difficulties. Stand by.
We had this issue in one of our prior meetings. I apologize. I'm not sure. So I'll start the presentation. We should get that fixed in just a second here. We should be able to get that fixed in just a moment. We did have a similar issue. I apologize for that. Again, if you have any questions or comments after this evening's hearings, please do let me know. We are going through the modification process still on a few minor items, and I'll cover even a few small changes that have been made prior to this hearing occurring this evening. For an overview quickly of the improvements, the proposed improvements at the site include the installation of water quality swales along Forest Road, tree filters within the parking lot for stormwater storage and treatment, parking lot improvement consisting specifically of paving the existing impervious gravel parking surface, and the addition of a sidewalk along the edge for handicap access to the bathroom facilities and the beach area, and I'll go through those details in a few moments here. Additionally, beach improvements focus on a retaining wall to be constructed the length of the beach, which we'll review in some detail in just a few minutes. A water quality swale along Forest Road that extends all the way to what many know as the Kerry down in this area, and we will get those plans up in just a second for you. And also a ramp that will actually be that will be installed leading to that mat, providing full ADA access to Kerry Beach that does not currently exist. And we're currently working on getting an ADA access chair that many of you may have seen at other beaches in the past. We're working on getting one of those so that folks have the ability to use Kerry Beach if they're differently abled. I do want to note that the design has been through several design iterations, both with the Public Works and Parks and Recreation Department. We've had some on-site meetings to modify several components, and a few of the small changes that have been done post you getting these plans, I'll walk through, and those are the direct product of consultation with the Parks and Recreation Department. I'll review those in some detail. There are two specific reasons why I believe this plan triggers the board's review. The first is 2 wetland impact areas, and hopefully you have your screens back in front of you. Those 2 wetland impact areas are shown in yellow on the plan, one of which is sort of to the northern side of the existing bathhouse, and the other is between the bathhouse and the road right-of-way, as you can see in that sort of long linear yellow wetland there. Those wetlands do trigger a State of New Hampshire Wetlands Impact Permit, which we've already received and was favorably reviewed by the Conservation Commission. But obviously those direct wetland impacts do trigger a special use permit review through the planning board process. And that's really the primary reason for this plan coming to you this evening. The narrative materials do address how the wetlands will be, or the wetland impacts will be managed. If you have any specific questions, again, I'll try to answer those and hopefully report back if I can't this evening. The other reason for coming to you this evening is that the parking lot reconfiguration is one of these sort of borderline projects in that it's modification to an existing parking lot. It actually improves the impact of the parking lot from stormwater management perspective. But in my opinion, the reconfiguration does trigger your authority of site plan review based on the installation of pedestrian walks, the installation of portable toilets, and a few other smaller site modifications that, again, I think trigger site plan review by the planning board. Quickly on the wetlands front, though, the total wetland impact area for the 2 wetlands, one being 372 square feet, and the other being 1,360 square feet, is up at 1,732 square feet of total direct wetland impact area. Obviously, there are also peripheral wetland buffer impacts proposed as part of the project, but I do want to point out that these are already existing disturbed wetlands in that they're not in sort of natural habitat. I know a lot of applicants before you say this, but in this case it truly is the fact that these are very low quality wetland habitats, and in some cases, or in one case, even that wetland along Forest Road could technically be ruled the resultant of a drainage ditch and would not be treated by a wetland in our ordinance. But again, we err on the side of caution, so we did want to document those for you this evening. Erosion and siltation controls will be in place throughout the project to protect those wetland areas. Obviously, in one case, the wetland area on the southern side will be paved over and vegetation will be planted within it. That is a permanent impact, whereas at the other locations, they'll simply be grassed over, they'll be part of the landscaping element. We don't foresee any significant impacts beyond that at this time. Regarding the site modifications, I wanted to quickly walk through the comments within my memorandum that I generated to you, make a few modifications to my comments, and address a few of the concerns that I had. Beginning, though, with access. The access to the site will not be significantly modified. Vehicle access will remain at the current access point along Forest Road. There's no need for a new town driveway permit or anything of that nature. Obviously, it will look different in the fact that it will be paved and it will be formalized more than it perhaps is today. One change that has been proposed that I want to point out is as you look at the plans today, there's a concrete pad to the eastern side of the driveway. That pad was intended to be used for an entrance shed for checking beach passes per the changes to our town beach ordinance. Based on conversations with Parks and Recreation over the past 2 weeks, we've decided to actually widen the apron slightly to the driveway and move that entry shed to the middle of the driveway. Therefore, it will make it easier for them to check passes at the driver's side window. The idea of checking from the passenger side window, I think we've all been in some experience where we've had to have some sort of pass checked. It's very rare that you see it to that passenger side. You almost see it always in the driver's side. That's the modification that we've made here. So again, that pad and the shed will move to the center of that driveway access aisle. There will not be a gate installed at this time. We're not pursuing that option. It will be regulated during the hours within the beach ordinance, and there'll be staff on site to manage the parking lot. Outside of those hours, the beach will be open, if you will, without the gate.
Will it meet the setback?
The structural setback, that's a good point. The gate attendant box will not meet the structural setback here, John. That's a good question. It will be within the front setback of 30 feet in the residential zoning district here. Or rather, yes, this will be residential zoning district here. And shorefront will be the same, actually, from the road right of way. So it does not meet that setback, John.
Do we need a waiver or something for that?
You don't need relief technically for that, as you are exempt from your own regulations, but I think it should be noted for the record that we are not meeting the setback here with that proposed building. One of two things could be done. We could simply not comply, or we could find out whether that's being treated as a temporary structure, and it may very well be removed in the off months. I don't know the answer to that, but I can check back. It probably won't be, because I know that's maintenance that needs to be done. So I'll at least check into that for you, though. The existing fence is another pretty substantially noticeable component that will be improved. The existing fence will be moved really varying between 2 to 4 feet closer to the road right-of-way as you drive down Forest Road. I urge you to go take a look maybe someday this week and see just what that'll look like. What we're really trying to do is minimize the width of the traveled way as a means of traffic calming and slowing drivers down in that area, while also minimizing shoulder parking that's happening currently. We do have signage in this area that's no parking signage. We've had some problems with violations of that, and one of the thoughts is that by minimizing that shoulder width, we'll actually pretty much curtail that violation that we've seen in the past. One of the complications, though, that arises is further down the path, and I'll get to that in just a few seconds, but really where the Kerry is on the sort of the western side of Kerry Beach. We have a very narrow right-of-way there, a very narrow shoulder where it's pretty frequent for folks to launch kayaks and unload their cars. We are proposing some modifications there that I'll get to in a second under the pedestrian circulation piece. And I'll get to that in a moment. But the primary improvement here is that the parking lot is being formalized. We are installing those tree wells, which will be used for stormwater management through an under drain to outlet to a proposed underground detention system. The current parking lot, however, is really an informally sort of delineated parking lot of gravel and dirt, as many of you have seen. We are proposing to have in its place 30 standard parking spaces in the context of the zoning ordinance standards, and 2 ADA accessible spaces as shown on the parking improvement plan, resulting in 32 total parking spaces. There is an argument that could be made that we are actually minimizing the parking on this site, and I would agree generally with that argument. We are certainly, by delineating the parking spaces and doing the paving associated with this, we are formalizing it in a sense, in a way that could potentially minimize how many cars can be parked there. However, our view was that the minimization of parking would actually be a way to control some of the volume at Kerry Beach that we've seen impact the quality of the beach and the quality of the beach experience. So we felt comfortable with that minimization, and quite frankly, I'm not familiar with a parking standard specifically within our ordinance that defines what the requirement should be for a beach, not to my knowledge at least.
From a practical standpoint, if you're reducing parking spaces at Kerry Beach, how is the town going to control parking at Kerry Beach? You've been down there, I presume, on a bright, sunny summer afternoon, and you've seen they park haphazardly. If you reduce that number, where are those people going to start parking? Along the side of the road?
We expect that we will have issues with roadside parking, and we also anticipate that we're going to have to increase the signage, unfortunately, to deal with that. This year has been better The volume has not been as substantial as it has in the past years for very obvious reasons, but Mike, I think we are going to have to increase our enforcement of the policies in this area. I think that's the only way that we can remedy the issue.
Just so long as the town is aware.
Yes, I mean, again, you could argue that there are as many, I think, as 45 parking spaces on that current lot if you really cram cars in very haphazardly. We recognize that we are resulting in a decrease here, but it's really at the expense of stormwater management. We want to make sure that stormwater management goes into place, and we'll unfortunately have to deal with the consequences, but to your point, we are aware that they will arise.
Thank you, Matt.
I'd like to add to that, when you park cars or let them park haphazardly on their own, it is not efficient. So you may, just because you're putting lines down, be actually increasing parking area, because it can be mayhem, and then, you know, cars don't want to block the existing cars, and it's inefficient.
Right. We all know that it all relies on that first car and how they park. You know, we've all been to venues, I think, where the parking is totally out of state simply because someone has broken the pattern as it should be. So I agree, Vaughn. I think by formalizing the access and creating this directional traffic pattern, I think it'll actually increase safety and potentially increase, yes, the parking availability on the site. And certainly by having the ADA spaces, I think we're really doing a nice designation for those folks that do want to use the beach that may need that access that currently isn't really there. And to that point, the ADA accessible sidewalk will wrap around the parking area and lead to both the proposed bathroom facilities, which will be, I hesitate to use the term portable toilets, but they will be portable ADA toilets. We are going to be getting what I would call an enhanced model that you may have seen in your travels at different events or that sort of thing. They'll be more aesthetically pleasing, and we are proposing to do screening around those proposed toilets as well to shield them from the public view and from the beach view. And to that point, there have been questions about the existing septic system in Leech field that exists on the property. We are going to be transitioning away from using that septic system, but are not proposing to remove it as of this date. We are proposing to move all traffic for the restrooms towards those portable toilets, but we are not tearing the septic system out right now as part of this project. If you have questions about the specifics of that, that's one of the items I'd like to defer to the Public Works Director, and I'm happy to have him report back to you, but there are very specific reasons why that is the plan as of today. With that, we're proposing to install an underground detention, or functionally a leach field, for the stormwater that's being handled and collected on the site. Within the tree wells, those are feeding to an underdrain system that will actually outlet to that detention system that you see delineated on the northern side of this plan. Soil typology does allow for it there. We're curious to see whether the method is quite frankly proven, but this is the method that's been recommended to us by our engineer, and we're enthusiastic about it because it will substantially change the amount of runoff coming from the site.
Is this a trench galley?
This is, functionally, yes it is, John. It's very similar to that. It's not exact. I think we had talked about that at a prior planning board meeting. I don't think it's exactly that technique, but it's similar to that in nature. And I think
it's more of a full pipe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, it's more of a full pipe than that trench system that we had talked about before. Yes. The biggest change, however, in the parking lot is the grade. What's being proposed here is to angle the grade from what it is now. First of all, raise the parking lot up and angle the grade such that the flow is actually away from the water, and it's not currently that way. Currently, you get a lot of ponding, a lot of very nasty stagnant water that sits there for an extended period of time, not only in the middle of the parking lot, but also running off along the beach. By changing the grade here, raising it up, angling it away, bringing it into the stormwater system, and also angling some of it on the southern side towards that bioretention swell on the roadway, we feel this will have a substantial impact on stormwater. One of the really interesting lessons learned for me, I know I'm kind of deviating from the presentation, but is that the engineer in reviewing this site felt that a paved system would actually would be preferable over a paver or even a gravel base, because that paved system would functionally sort of stabilize the loose earth that's there right now, and combined with the stormwater management that we're putting subsurface would actually be the best way to treat the stormwater runoff that we're seeing on the property. So although pavement is generally considered to be a negative, in this case it's helping us get the water to where it needs to be and actually stabilizing some of the loose earth that currently exists on this site. Any questions on the drainage and parking lot components specifically before I just move into landscaping?
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
So when you first turn in the parking lot there, you got that arrow that bangs to the right, and you get that little skinny strip between the tree island and the inside radius. My truck turns 51 feet on a corner. I'll never make that.
So you're saying, John, as you take that right-hand turn, you're not going to make that?
No way. I'd have to do a 3-point turn around there. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how tight it is right there. I can't really tell, but I mean, one suggestion that I would do is I would take that tree and move it more towards the ADA area so that you could at least get your front end under it quicker. Move the, and you might get another parking spot.
Yeah, that does look tight.
It does look tight. It does look tight, and I do know.
Isn't that going to change? Isn't that going to change? You're going to move the shed.
So that I was just going to get to that, but I still think we should check it because the modification. And I wish I could draw this for you easily, but the modification does move. I know you can't see, but it does move that side of the aisle further to the right and open it up a bit more. But I'm not convinced that it totally addresses the issue you're talking about, John. So I'm going to have them check the turning movement on that.
You know what I'm trying to say though is if you take that island and move it this way a little bit more, you get another parking spot right there, and you can actually make the turn in. Because really, to me, that's wasted space right there. That big wide area. Yeah, you got to turn in for the ADA, but the ADA person has to go. Where's he gonna go first?
Yep.
Where's the ADA driver gonna go?
So ADA actually has the ability to do one of two things. They can either do a looped pattern, you see that drop-off pattern that's shown on the plan? They can do a looped pattern up and around, or they can go right, John, as you're saying, and go around the full parking lot if necessary. Whatever, if there's somebody else dropping off or something to that effect, they may want to go around, but they have two options as the parking lot is currently configured.
So are they parallel parking with the side, or are they coming straight in?
With the ADA?
Yeah.
So I think two different methods will be used. The space to the south will be parallel park. The space to the north, someone will have to travel through the drop-off zone in order to get into that space.
Yeah, you can't move that tree island then if that's the way.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep. But that is, and I actually had a conversation with Dave about these ADA spaces because I didn't love the idea of having them be parallel parking, quite honestly. I think that can be more challenging. Unfortunately, it's the best way to get them close to the ADA accessible route to the beach.
Yeah.
So it's, kind of an unfortunate circumstance, but hopefully they will work.
I agree with John. The plan it's very tight.
It is very tight.
There.
I think we should check on the turning radius because I want to make sure that they use the truck turning radius here as well because I'm not confident that would make that. So I'd like to report back to you on that item.
I'll figure also we're all driving mom vans, they don't turn that great.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to, they're going to scoot up behind you while you're trying to make the corner, and then everybody's going to have to back up.
You're going to have a whole bunch of people in a line waiting to get to the drop-off.
Yeah, particularly as you have a gate entrance attendant, you're going to have to go further into the site, and it will make it give you less ability to kind of cut the wheel and turn around. So, I think that's a fair concern. And honestly, the queuing question is one that we had preliminary conversations about, Mike.
And honestly, it could be just by making a granite ring around that tree instead of making it a three-dimensional thing. You could get granite in a nice round radius, and it would circle right around that tree.
It would open up some space.
Yep. I think we can decrease the size of that island potentially.
It looks nice on the design because it balances the third island, but it's not practical on the ground.
I agree. Okay, that's a great comment.
I would make them all the same way, to tell you the truth. I mean, you could make them all three of them all round.
Okay. I will follow up with you guys directly on that comment. I think it's a good one.
Before you go on, Matt, what's the sidewalk like? Is it still just plain asphalt? Just the walkway around the outside?
No, so the walkway around the outside is going to be concrete. It's a concrete walkway, as I understand it.
Is it raised or is it flat?
It is going to be on grade, I believe.
Does it go all
So you
the
see
way?
how it, what's that?
Does it go up to the Forest Road section towards the bottom on the south? Does it continue on?
No, nope. So let me just kind of draw this out because I think it'd be more helpful. So it goes around the perimeter of the parking lot, and it outlets either to the ADA mat that goes down, or it outlets to the portable toilet location over here.
Right.
One of two options there.
I'm just looking at it, that it only goes around 3 parts of the parking lot. It doesn't go in front of the other cars, which means that everybody that's going towards the bathhouse but is parked on that side with little kids now has to walk behind cars that are backing out to get to their own. I would think that the sidewalk would continue around where those bushes are to make it a little bit safer for all these little kids to get back to their car.
So I would generally agree with you, but one thing that we learn is that people will walk the shortest route possible to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
So as much as it would be helpful to put a sidewalk there, there's very limited likelihood that they would make the trip around the parking lot. So getting to the root of your safety for people here, I do think that speed is going to be low enough here that it may not be an issue. I can't promise that, of course, but my gut says that the speed within this lot, based on the entrance attendant and the speed that you need to reduce there, based on the tightness of the aisles, which I actually think could be a benefit for safety in some senses, I don't believe that's a significant issue, and I think we're going to get that no matter what. I think we've brought as much of the parking public to that concrete walkway that we possibly can, and I do recognize that the others may be at some safety risk walking across the parking lot, but I don't think it's a substantial risk.
I don't think it is either, because if you park in the middle, you're in the middle, and you're in the middle of the parking lot, so.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying there? It's like,
yeah, and one thing I'm a little concerned about, and we actually had this issue in Town Hall parking lot, is you'll see that the middle row parking are, I look at them as almost pull-through parking spaces, but you can't make that turn, obviously, after you get out of the parking space. People are going to need to sort of learn that they need to back out, exit, and pull through, because you just can't make the turn, and we really do have that issue quite a bit out here. But I think folks do tend to learn and start to get a handle for the circulation on site, but it will be a learning experience.
well, you know, it's almost like there needs to be a curb kicker straight up right up the middle there, and that's an added, what you don't need to add, but if you put a strip up the kicker in the middle, they can't go through it.
Yeah, so if you were to curb the curb stop there, yeah, you could do that.
You could even just paint the line. Just paint it on the ground.
You know what, that's a good point. Let me check. I think that's a good comment.
Yeah, double yellow
So,
line.
A line there painted, well, I think even just a line would be an indication that
Yeah,
that is a stop line. I think that's
Well,
a
because
good,
that's like, oh no, that's the end. You have to go in the other end.
Yeah, there has to be one.
Just gives them a little clue when they're driving.
And the size of the tree filter plantings, do they need to be as robust as they appear on the plan?
so Mike, I don't know the answer to that question. My gut would say that they could be reduced in size and still take in the same volume,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they've been specifically engineered at this size in order to infiltrate the runoff that's coming from the other sections of the site. I'll have to report back to you on that.
So, and to Mike's point there, the planters, the rounded of the planter comes in a radius, certain radius. So you could buy a piece of granite that is completely 4 feet around, that has a R4 radius, and it would make a complete circle. So, you know, basically what they've got here is they've got a half a radius on each end with a straight piece in the middle. And you could shrink those down dramatically. And
Yeah,
still,
that would have to be an engineering design, because they're all part of the stormwater management for this parking lot. So they may have a particular size as required, I don't know, but
well, let's compare that to the library, where they did the stormwater management plan, and the water's supposed to get in it, but they put granite around it so the water in the parking lot doesn't dump into it. Okay?
Agreed. Well, I'm
So-
trying to preserve the engineering idea of using those tree planters as part of the internal stormwater management system, but at the same time shrink the surface appearance of these things so they don't eat up parking as the middle one seems to do. And the front one, like John said, cuts down his turning radius, and that one does need to shrink in size.
I mean, the reality is that we would like these to be as large as they can be I mean, we want them to take as much stormwater volume as possible. So,
Well, the way they're positioned is the stormwater management culvert line is on the high side, okay? And then you have the tree on the south side. So they dig the ditch, they put the crushed stone at the bottom, they put the fabric in, they put the medium on top of that, and then they basically have fabric that creates a barrier segregation between that stormwater management system and a new pothole where they can put growing medium to grow a tree in, because the tree will never grow in the crushed stone where the water's going to have to flow in that culvert area. Do you see what I'm saying? So that thing's just going to dry right out on the bottom right-hand side because it's going to be all air.
You're right, it's going to be all air then.
So what you have to do is you have to properly dig the hole open, add real good loam, and place that tree inside there. But the area is half drainage.
Yeah, those trees will not do well over time.
No, only half of the tree will do well.
Maybe we should just plant a bush.
one comment on that, the Public Works Department is not planning to salt or sand this parking lot when it's plowed in the winter, just so you're aware. Just the tree health comments reminded me that there's no plan to salt or sand this parking lot in the winter months, but it will be plowed.
But, okay, let me ask the question, is it parking lot and then a drop-in, or is it a parking lot with granite raised up around it?
Yeah, so I think that's a little, it's a well, so it is a recessed, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's just the asphalt ending and then it's a drop-in.
Yeah, so these darker areas almost look like curb on the plan. They're not
they're
curb.
not.
They're on-grade transition areas.
It's a depression.
Yeah, exactly. So these are, they're called tree wells because they're just that. They're a recessed area within the parking lot. So I don't...
They could be manipulated before the asphalt.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think the idea of reducing the size, I think as long as it accommodates the same volume of stormwater, I think it could be made smaller, no question. I think that's a good thing that we should check into. Landscaping, we're already getting into. Obviously, we're going to be doing some landscaping along Forest Road as well, as shown next to the swale area. Additionally, there'll be the tree wells that we just discussed previously. There are 3 trees proposed for removal. They're sort of in the parking lot area, and then an additional large tree that is currently dead that will be removed. But you'll see, as shown on the upper left-hand side of the plan, those do need to come out for the construction part of this project. We did discuss drainage already. While I'm on drainage, I do want to just mention that there will be a retaining wall. It's sort of more of a physical feature, but does impact the drainage. Along Forest Road, where the swale is proposed, really more on the eastern side of this project, where it's not really the beach area anymore, we're in the roadside area. There will be a retaining wall ranging between 1 and 2 feet tall that will be installed there to really formalize access, to discourage people from parking roadside there and making the jump down. But there will be a break within that retaining wall and the fence that's going to be in that location, where the fence pieces can actually be removed for the Granite Man Triathlon, and there'll be steps installed that will be covered during normal parts of the year.
Wait a minute. That area has got to stay open for the Kerry.
So, I'm glad you raised that issue, because I've learned
Why do I raise that issue? Because it's a historic issue, that's why.
I didn't say why. I didn't say why. I'm glad you raised that issue. I'm happy you said that.
Oh.
So I'm happy you said that because...
Okay, because you can't, it's not easy to get a kayak and a canoe over steps.
Right. So what will be done, and maybe I should show you on the plan set on the screen, but where the current break is in the fence that was created 10 years ago, not all the way to the eastern side, Kathy, but there's a break in the middle of the fence that's between, that is not the legal carry right there. That is where we are proposing to put the stone steps and the breakable fence, if you will. The area to the east where the legal carry starts and transitions across the road, that area will be left open for kayak launching as necessary. And we will be doing the swale in that area as well. So we are not compromising the carry.
Okay, and there's no retaining wall there?
There's not a retaining wall in that specific location. If you look at the plan set, there are some stepping stones shown on the side of the road. The retaining wall does not continue to that point. Our understanding is that where those stepping stones are is the location of the carry.
Okay, well, it's not very clear on here.
Yeah, could you point them out to us? please?
Yes. Beach area, this is the swale, this is the retaining wall, this is the extent of the retaining wall, this is the carry where these stones are here, so that will remain open. There will not be a retaining wall at that location.
Okay, but stones or boulders?
These are existing.
Yeah, the set.
Yeah, okay.
Those are existing. We're not proposing to modify that, other than the swale going in front of it, which will be able to walk through.
Okay.
Okay, so Dave and I talked about that today because we figured that carry issue would arise tonight. But I can get confirmation on that.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the limit of the retaining wall. This is where we understand the carry to be, and obviously.
And is that the,
the?
oh, okay, so you have to go over.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, that's,
That's the way it
no,
is.
no, I go over.
Right. So this access right here, there's a break in the fence.
Picket fences, yeah.
That was done 10 years ago, is my understanding.
Right.
It was never replaced. And we met with an abutting property owner, and they had asked if we close that. We've gone back and forth.
I think
Technically,
that's,
that is not the carry location.
no, but that's gonna be for fish houses.
Right, but
That's gonna happen.
I think we're closing the fence. And that's one comment I can bring back, but I think we are proposing to close the fence.
Talk to the fishing game about it.
Yeah, right, I mean, this is a major in the winter.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a major access.
Okay.
Good, bad, or
So-
indifferent,
so-
that's what it is.
So if I was to say the compromise would be a roll area where, again, snowmobiles are going through there.
And they go through right over here, that's right, over here.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, an 8-foot fish house, 8-foot wide fish house is gonna slide through there. Somebody's gonna have a camper on wheels, is gonna thread through there.
Yeah. I can find out, honestly, I didn't hear the Bob House concern, so I need to check it on that. They need to-
Oh, yeah, that place is, I guess, that's a,
Yeah, I sort of thought the snowmobilers came straight across, but,
well, not if the fence is gonna be built.
no, that's what I meant.
Not, not right here, it's
Oh,
close, it's like
okay.
right here.
But you don't want them doing destruction on a
Right.
newly finished
Right,
area.
that's what we're saying, let's push them all.
Yeah, right, well, it needs to be dealt
Julie, are
with
you good
because
on
it's
that?
there.
Yeah, I think this is good, because this carry issue we anticipated would be a concern, not just for Granite Man, obviously, but for the people who are just using it recreationally, and I wasn't aware of the Bob houses, so that's something we should check in on. And we've gotten a lot of complaints about kayak unloading, but we have not gotten complaints about unloading of other equipment, so that's why I think the issue did not arise.
You may not know that till spring. That may be the issue.
That's true. Yep, that's true.
Okay, and the Conservation Commission also commented on.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
And we all have their minutes.
Just two other quick notes, if I could. I'll skip through some of the other, less exciting and less pertinent elements of the review. I did have a comment about lighting in my review. The only lighting that's proposed is there's an existing light, and I want to direct you to where that is. If you look at the sheet that shows the limited section of the beach, sort of the sheet we were just talking about, there's a light right in the middle of the beach off of an existing utility pole. That light will be replaced, but it will be down directed. Yep. So I spoke to the appropriate department today. That light will be replaced. Additionally, there may be a light installed on the gate attendant shack as well, just to keep that area lit. But no other lighting is proposed at this time beyond what's currently on site. Snow storage is relatively self-explanatory. There's no curb, so obviously it's really just going to be an exercise of pushing the snow off. No real concerns there. Again, the understanding that we have is that there will not be salting or sanding, which I think will be, good for the health of the vegetation that we're installing. We'll see if that works for people that are actually using the site and whether it remains safe, but that is the plan as of this time. There will be no solid waste disposal provided, at least for the public to use, based on the carry in, carry out policy that's been implemented at the beaches. So when people come in, they're asked to show their pass. They will be provided with a trash bag if they need one and asked to carry in, carry out their trash. Obviously, staff on site will have solid waste disposal available to them should trash become an issue and they need to dispose of it, but it will not be publicly offered. We want people to carry in, carry out as much as possible. There will be some coordination necessary with the municipal electric department for pole location. Nothing that I think this board specifically needs to worry about. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the project. I do want to take some of these comments, go back to the engineer, back to the public works department, get some answers to you before we proceed with the project. And if you have any others, I'd be happy to answer those this evening or report back as well.
Okay, Matt, when people are coming down Forest Road, the plan is showing that they're going to see a gatehouse and the porta potties right in the front setback, both items?
That's correct. That's correct. Yep. There'll be two, I suppose you could call them structural elements within that front setback area, yes.
Okay, and does anybody have any concerns about that? It's quite a pretty area.
And the rest of the view with the bushes coming down the road, I'm hoping that the bushes are short, so that at least it preserves some sort of a view.
I mean, is it going to be fully landscaped, the porta potties?
So there's landscape screening proposed around the
Well,
porch.
they're showing landscaping, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Well, maybe stockade fence type,
fully.
are you thinking?
I mean, if no one else has concerns, okay.
I don't see what else you can do.
I raised it a minute ago about the attendance shed. There's a tree right in front of that. I hope it's a blue spruce or something that's a Baker blue that doesn't grow too big. That's about a 15-footer. You write that down, Matt? Baker blue spruce, right on each corner right there.
I think they're Liberty elms right now, right?
And Matt, I assume that if we're showing a little house at the entrance of Kerry Beach, we're going to have one at Albee Beach? Would that be in the front setback or a setback area also?
No, I don't believe at Albee Beach that it would be. I mean, it could potentially be in the front setback at Albee. I just don't know exactly where they're going to put it.
Okay, I was just trying to think of a way to justify this.
I don't see where else you can put the
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
porta potties.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think it's,
It's performing a function that we
Right.
need to
yeah,
have
no,
there.
but I struggle with, I mean, I think everybody, I think Kathy is right. I mean, it is a violation of the ordinance, there's no question about that, but it's performing a function that is defined within the ordinances of the town, and Kathy, I don't know.
And there'll be one at both beaches, I would assume.
Yes, we are going, the answer to that is absolutely
Yeah,
yes, Kathy.
okay.
We are proposing these gate shacks, or these entrance shacks, or entrance sheds at both beaches in order to manage the traffic.
The
Oh, they
state
are
park
gonna
has
do
the
the-
same type of deal. Anytime you go to a state park, they have the same type of deal.
Yep.
And you go in and there's a gatehouse.
So they are gonna do the landscaping. Is that part of the purchase, or that's what she's asking? When you're going down Forest Road, you're not gonna look at the bodies, you're gonna see all the trees along the side of the road, correct?
Correct, yes, correct.
Yeah, I really think we need to take that into account.
The view sort of as you go down the road.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, there are gonna be a couple structures there, and if they're landscaped nicely, you know,
I do have another
that would
question
help.
about that, the porta potty bit. Occasionally, they have to be serviced. Occasionally, you got to take them out and replace them. You're going to fence it in, you're going to box it in with another fence and some bushes. How are they going to get in there to fix and move and do the stuff to
So,
it?
if you look at the screening around the porta potty, there is an opening on the parking lot side that allows them to take out that porta potty if necessary. To Kathy's point, though.
It's not fenced there between the
Nope.
the ADA parking lot,
No.
parking spaces? Okay.
Nope, it's not fenced, but, you know, to kind of, to Kathy's point, at the same time, by opening it there in the landscaping, you will see it more visibly as you drive down Forest Road, because that landscaping is not present on that
But
eastern side.
To that point, the structures that you're going to see when you're coming down Forest Road are structures that are appropriate to a public beach.
Correct.
So you kind of expect to see a gatehouse and porta potties. In fact, you might be glad to see the porta potties, so you know where the kids can
And
take
I'd
care
like
of
to,
themselves if necessary, you know?
yeah, and I'd like to make a special
Say
comment
the
about
planning board supports,
you know, the voters of the town were very prudent to pass that warrant article this year, because there's a lot of towns that are being overrun on their beaches.
Well, I'll say this, and this is the only time I'm going to say this on this particular issue. The town was very prudent in passing the ordinance regarding the Kerry Beach. The Board of Selectmen, unfortunately, didn't see it that way.
Correct.
okay, all I'm talking about is a visual appearance coming down Forest Road, and should we consider that? I mean, we spent a good part of last year talking about architectural designs of buildings to keep our, the existing quaintness of our town, and that's, I just thought I would bring that up as something that we might want to think about.
Yeah, and Kathy, I think it's a good point that, yes, the town does not have to adhere to its own ordinances and regulations, but we should make a good faith effort to do so, and if we're not able to, I think we need to defend why we're not. And I think that these are clearly necessary sort of uses for the, you know, the active use of this beach as a municipal facility, but I think that we do need to take measures.
And they can be adequately landscaped and fenced.
Yes, I mean, I personally, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think that the gate attendant shed will be visibly intrusive. I do think that the porta potty has the ability to do that.
Right.
So I think it's critical for the
I
porta
was
potty
just
to be
thinking of
screened.
both as coming down. It's going to be different.
Yep.
We want to take that into account.
I think that's a fair comment.
Okay, anything?
Statement that I have this feeling that, you know, in some ways there is a design being made here, and in the next 5 years there may be modifications to it, in part because some of the plantings don't work right or something like that. And I just think that the whole plan is basically well thought out, and I go on the idea that the enemy of good is perfection. And I think they've done a great job. They're improving the runoff issues, and in fact, that was one of the guiding forces for this whole project.
Okay, and it's also, the reason these come to us is for our opportunity to make land use recommendations. That's why we spend our time looking at these applications.
Could I quickly review what I've heard, just so I can
Yes.
make sure that
Yes, if you would do that, that would be great.
and I don't have many comments, actually, from what I think I've gathered, that we need to analyze the turning movement at the entrance. I need to get a new design with the appropriately sized apron to you, but make sure that it's actually compliant with the truck turning radius. And even if it is, we should explore whether or not these tree wells could be reduced in size to allow for more turning radius for larger vehicles on site. Additionally, I think we need to explore whether the landscaping, particularly that right in front of the entrance aisle, will be enough such that people can still see the entrance shed, but it will also sort of, I guess, shield or screen those structures from the public view so that they aren't changing the character of the beach substantially. Additionally, I think we need to look at whether or not there should be a line painted on the middle row of parking spaces on the northern side to at least send the message that you should not pull through on that front side, despite the fact that you may think that your car can make the turn, but we really want folks to back up and make the exit safely. Additionally, one thing I'd like to just take a look at that we didn't discuss in detail is how queuing will be handled at the entrance shed if we do have 4 cars there. I want to make sure that we have adequate traveled way so that cars can pull over and still allow traffic to pass. I believe we've accounted for that, leaving the space between the landscaping and the traveled way, but I want to confirm that that's the case because I do think that with multiple vehicles there could be an issue created there. Additionally, on the western side of the property, where the swale improvements are being done adjacent to the Kerry, I want to make sure that we provide adequate space and adequate method for some sort of ramp or access for not only kayak launching, but also for bob houses and snowmobiles in that location so that we won't obstruct their legal right to cross the property from one area or from one side to another. And I believe that is all I have for specific comments on the design. Is there anything I'm missing?
Well, okay, and the reason we should comment on the little gatehouse within the setback, that's necessary
If you feel
as a practical matter for any beach entrance, I guess.
Yes.
So that we would have that addressed for if they want to do it at Albee Beach.
I think it's important to have that in the record.
Okay, and the reduction in the parking spaces is to further address the water quality, improvement of the water quality issues that is the driving force for all of this.
And to enhance the safety because the circulation is pretty haphazard as it is today.
Right. And this clearly meets the recommendations in the master plan.
Yes.
That ask us to address water quality issues.
Yeah.
So, can you put that in there too?
I will put that in there, yes.
Okay, any other recommendations? Anything else, folks? Do we get everything? And do you want us to make a motion that would include those recommendations?
My request would be that you make a motion to provide the aforementioned comments to the Parks and Recreation and Public.
Okay, and did we say adequate screening for the...
I'd like to go a little bit further than a screening. I'd like to see if we can get a rendition of what that might look like. That beach house with the things right there. I mean,
Okay.
I would.
Are you saying 3D or just 2D?
It's a 20 by 27 area. It's huge.
Okay.
What kind of,
We should have a little rendering of what the building is going to look like, so we have some,
Johnny, you thinking a 3D
right
type
there with that.
rendering or just a little sketch?
Isn't that the,
To what purpose, though?
No, that's what I'm concerned about.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking
okay.
for a little rendering, a little sketch, little visual.
Thank you.
of
Could
what-
I provide a building plan for the shed? Could I provide because I think it's a pretty standard thing that we're looking to purchase. Could I provide that?
Yeah.
Okay, because the only thing
I mean,
I'm not
it's
sure
hard-
about, John, is whether or not I can get a full 3D rendering done.
It's hard to say. You got a 20 by 27 area there, and
Yeah.
you're gonna put something on it. It's like, give us a little bit more meat than
I
that.
think just a sketch is adequate,
Yeah.
a nice
Yeah,
sketch,
something-
a nice rendering sketch.
Something sort of informal, it doesn't have to be a,
Right, and that we
Design.
support the adequate landscape screening for that facility.
we have to be careful that we don't go micromanaging this project.
No, I don't wanna
Right.
do that. No,
All I'm doing is reading when it's on the plan.
no, she has some concerns, I
Supporting
think.
it.
Because this project is technically exempt from our oversight. So this is more of a courtesy than it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
all
but I
of
think
this is-
non-binding recommendations are important, I think. And I think, to your point, they may not ultimately be executed, but I'd like to think that we have a pretty good relationship between the planning board and the town departments. And
Right.
if there's a comment made here, I think we're going to respond to it. Might be in the end that we can't do something for some reason, but I think that all these comments should be answered by the appropriate departments.
So wouldn't somebody have a picture of something and they're gonna
Yeah.
make a decision of which one they wanna look at or use?
I can provide, I think I have the building plans for a shed, John, that I can provide to you. I think Christine has an idea of those because she's going through the budgeting process right now for actually purchasing those sheds for the facility.
Excuse me, I just noticed something we didn't look at. This foot wash, where's the water coming from? Where is there water anywhere here that we can have a foot wash with?
The foot wash is coming, you see the water line that goes under the parking lot to the water shut off? It's a seasonal line there. So it's,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
okay,
Where
let
does
me,
it go?
there's a fire hydrant right next to the road right there.
What is this? Does it go over there? To here? Yeah, I know, but what does it feed? Here and, so it's just for foot washing, that's it? Could we also say that maybe the people in the shed, it might be a nice idea if they had running water since we're running it right past there? Just a note? Or have a water fill station or something there. It seems like a kind of a waste to me to have water supplied just to wash the sand from your feet.
okay, no, I'm not being clear because, so, this water shut is not solely for, this water shut is not solely for this. This water shut also feeds the water line that's shown right here. It's a seasonal water line that runs
Oh, it goes to the house?
residents at 203 Forest Road.
Yep.
And the water does come over here. I'm not sure where it ultimately terminates over here. The shut-off itself and the line that you feed other locations, this line itself, though, to your point, will be dedicated only to the line. We can certainly ask those who need the water in the shed.
Well, you're gonna need water to water your trees and plants, buddy.
We had talked to you about irrigation potentially,
Yeah.
so we had that discussion. But we do have a water service to the property, so it's not that we're extending water lines for this, but I think
Okay, well, you're just going underneath all this asphalt, and I'd hate to have to dig it up to do something, you know?
that's true. Let me ask Mr.
Like maybe it should go around it instead of
Oh,
underneath it.
okay, and anything else, folks? Okay, I'll make a motion to support the Kerry Beach project, and because of the impact it will have on water quality, with the recommendations that we have suggested, that most of them really, a lot of them were on the plans. So anyway, that's my motion.
Do we want, excuse me, do we want to acknowledge in some fashion that there's a special use permit aspect to this review?
Yes,
And also
right.
a site plan review aspect to this
Oh.
review?
Okay, and that is, it's also been reviewed by the Conservation Commission.
Well, we don't have anything to do with them.
Well,
but
yes, we do, in that they give us their
I'm sorry,
recommendation.
strictly speaking, of the planning board's overview on this particular not even application, presentation was to look at the special use permit dimension of the project and the site plan review dimension of the project. And I think we've done both. We may
Right.
not have had authority over the project, but at least we've applied both to the project. That's all I'm trying to say.
And we could support the intrusion into the wetlands, basically, because most of that is previously disturbed area.
It's just jurisdictional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, is that,
Second the motion.
okay. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. I'll do a roll call vote. Susan Replier,
Yes.
John Thurston,
Yes.
Mike Hodder,
Yes.
Von Dugan,
Yes.
Julie Jacobs,
Yes.
Peter Goodwin, and Kathy Barnard. I vote in favor. Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your support on this.
For his work on this.
This is going to be a really nice project when it's done.
Right.
So I'm looking
And-
forward to it.
and I wanted to mention the construction, I think, is going to be done in the fall.
That's correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Brad recused because the bid package is active right now, so we're just working through some final design modifications, but this will be happening soon. Yep.
Okay, all right, so there are no action items, public comments. I don't believe anyone is on line here to comment, so the other business CIP process update, we're meeting. That's kind of our update weekly? Okay,
We've heard from the municipal electric department, and we've moved Barry's project forward to the main plan with a full recommendation.
right. And the New Hampshire Housing Appeals Board, I just asked Matt to put that in your packets, just so everybody was aware of that. Because basically, it seems to say that any site plan or subdivision that has to do with housing can be appealed to that board. So I thought everybody should be aware of that happening. Okay, anything else, folks? Okay, Matt and I tried to, after our last meeting, tried to get everything down that we had talked about, and so we'll come back and try to prioritize things at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for the meeting in August. Anything else then? Okay, so somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded, right?
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Susan Replier,
Yes.
Brad Harriman,
Yes.
John Thurston,
Yes.
Mike Hodder,
Yes.
Von Dugan,
Yes.
Peter Goodwin, and Kathy Barnard. I vote in favor of adjourning. And thank you all very much. And I'm sorry we have to go through some of these complexities, but it's getting easier each time, I think.